Okay, so I grew up in Evansville and ended up going to Purdue. I never visited the campus, but a couple of my friends were going, and so I decided to go to Purdue. And I was interested in math and science, so perfect fit. Then while I'm there, I realized um, I'm just not cut out for math and science and chemistry. So my grades were horrible. I was blowing off classes. I didn't know what I wanted to do, which is sort of that lost feeling. When I'm a junior, I decided I got to get out of this. I went to my chemistry lab. I dumped everything down the drain, walked over to my counselor and said, "What do I have to do to get out of here in 4 years?" And she said, "Well, you can use all your math, science, biology, chemistry, physics for electives, and you can get a degree in political science." And I said, "Okay, let's do it." It was a short time later when I'm playing basketball at the co-rec, which I spent a lot of my time doing. I met a guy who, to this day, I can't tell you his name. But we got to talking about what he was going to do after he graduated, and he said, "I'm going to apply to the FBI." And it just struck a nerve with me. I did a little research. The only way you could get into law school at that time was either to be an accountant or a lawyer. And I decided to go to law school. So I got my grades up. I went to summer school. Between my junior and senior years, I took 9 hours. I took 21 hours my first semester as a senior. Got really good grades, and then I applied because I needed good grades to get into law school. So I hadn't heard anything about my application to Valparaiso University, and I applied there because a fraternity brother of mine told me, "Hey, why don't you apply to VU?" I got in, and I'm like, okay. Nice spring day. I put on a coat, shirt, and tie. I hitchhiked from Lafayette to Valparaiso. I went into the dean's office, and I said, "Hey, I'm Gary Germann. I'd like to check on my application." The secretary said, "Hold on, the dean will be right with you." So it scared the death out of me, right? So I go into the dean's office. I say, "Look, I understand my grades for the first 3 years were horrible. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Now I do. I want to go to law school. My scores were pretty good. And so here I am." Jerry looks at me, looks at my folder, looks up at me and said, "I think we'll admit you." And that's how I got into law school. So I get into law school, and I need money because they didn't make money. And between my second and third year, I got a job at the Portage Police Department. It was an intern program, so I worked my summer job at Portage PD, which just reaffirmed my interest in law enforcement. So third year, I graduate, I take the bar. My wife is working at the hospital, and there's a girl she's working with in the lab that says, "Hey, my husband's leaving the prosecutor's office. Why don't you have Gary go down and apply?" Which I did, because I hadn't heard from the FBI yet. I had made my application, had taken the test, had done the physical. I was all ready to go. Hadn't heard. I walked down there. That's on a Friday. I was moving furniture at the university at the time for money. Walked in on a Friday. He called me and hired me on Monday. That's how I got started as a lawyer. By the time, that was in October of 1973, I became the chief deputy in May of 1974. That summer, the FBI offered me a job, and I turned it down because by that time, Beth and I, we were in the community. We had our church, we had our softball teams, basketball teams. We were just part of the community, and we decided to stay. It's a winding road, just a series of little coincidences, timing, and here I am.